This week, I've had the pleasure of reading some of your applications for Dearly Beloved. And one thing that came up in quite a few of them is what I want to talk about today. And that is, this idea that we really love each other and we are ready for this, but we're just looking for a little bit of guidance because we don't want to mess it up. We don't want to do something silly or have something that is coming up for us to really be a stumbling block for us, right? And it's kind of this idea of like, we love each other, but there are things in our personalities or in the habits that we have, and we're just worried that we're going to drive each other crazy or that we won't be able to have this like magnificent mountaintop marriage that we're dreaming of. And it's not so much that you're wondering if this is the person for you, if you've chosen the wrong person, for example, but rather it's the reality of living together and that's starting to settle in. That reality that this is the person you're choosing for the rest of your life. And I want to just take a minute to understand this shift a bit because this is really the right question to be asking because this commitment is becoming really real. And that's what we want, right? We want the commitment to be real because it is a real commitment. And so we want to be taking it seriously. And so you're asking all the right questions if you are asking these questions about, okay, I love this person, this is my person, but how do we kind of figure some of these things out and set ourselves up for success in the long run? So if that's you, I'm so glad you're here and we're going to chat about it today. If we haven't met yet, hello, my name is Laura Jean. I'm the founder of Let's Be Saints Co. And I've created a brand new marriage prep program for the modern Catholic who is just sick of watered down theology and advice that kind of takes you nowhere and who's ready to really build the foundation on which you will set your marriage up for success now, at your wedding day, and for the years to come. So if that's you, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. And I just want to start off by mentioning that maybe that there's a deep fear that is kind of setting up this whole idea of where these questions are coming from. And this fear could be, can we actually do this life together? Like we're excited, of course. We have this dream to have this marriage together, but can we actually do it? Are we actually capable? Are we going to be miserable or are we going to be happy, right? Can we actually do life together without slowly irritating each other into oblivion? That's such a good question, right? So I just want to speak to that moment when that marriage, that commitment really becomes real. And what I mean by that is we often think of the really fun things after we get engaged, right? Where we're like, okay, where are we going to get married? What's the venue going to look like? What are we going to serve for dinner? What are we going to delight our guests with? All of that good stuff. And those are all really good things to think about. But something that comes a little bit further on is this reality starts to hit us that marriage is like a huge commitment. And as you're starting to meld your lives together, as you're starting to have more intentional conversations about your future and your goals because they will become one life that you live together, it can sometimes feel heavy. And heavy because of the weight of the importance of it. Not heavy in a bad way, but just this weight that you're feeling. And it's not a red flag, right? It's not a moment to stop and say, oh my gosh, is this the wrong person? That's not it at all. This heavy feeling is telling you that this commitment means a lot and it is proper that it feels heavy because even the weight of something good is heavy. I think back to the Olympics, right? You have all of these athletes competing. Obviously, everyone's competing for the gold. Then there's silver and there's bronze. And something that a lot of people who meet Olympians and get to like hold their medals will say, they'll comment on how heavy they are. And I think of that sometimes as like the weight of glory, the weight of the thing that you wanted, the weight of the goal. And so it's not a bad weight, it's a good weight. It's like hefty. It's like, I did it, right? And that's so much of what marriage is. It's not always the rainbows and the butterflies, but it's the we're doing it. We're doing the thing. We're getting married. We are starting that family. We are achieving our goals. We are loving each other in the hardest heartbreaks that anyone could ever imagine going through. And that love is what sustains you. And so that's why the foundation is so critical to get right. And I want to think about it this way. You have a couple options here, right? If you're feeling this weight, you have a couple options. And one of the options is like just letting nature take its course and kind of like, well, it'll happen or it won't happen. And you'll just navigate it on your own as it goes, right? You'll just figure it out as you go. Well, that kind of mentality is more so asking like, how do I survive what comes my way? Instead of asking, how do I thrive in whatever comes our way? Do you see how there's a difference there? And so by sitting back and just saying, I don't have to worry about this right now, I can just kind of handle it as it comes up, that mentality is going to lead you to places where you're a little bit stuck, where you're just surviving rather than thriving. And I like to compare this to like going on a really long hike. Okay. You know, those things that you have to plan for. But you're going on this really long hike without a map. Okay. You might get to where you're going, but because of the length of it, because of the amount of trails that pop off and the amount of hurdles that you might have to come across, you might not get there, right? There's a very good chance that you'll get off course and not achieve your goal at the end of the day. But how much easier is it and better would it be with a guide or with a map, right? That tells you, hey, avoid this trap. Hey, avoid this obstacle. Or, hey, you see that obstacle ahead? Here's the best way to get over it. Right? Without tiring you out, without using up all of your reserve, without making you want to pull your hair out. I mean, how awesome is that? So doing nothing, that's still a choice, right? Doing nothing in this season, feeling that weight and just living in it, that's a choice. And you can make that choice. But it is a choice that if you're going to make, you have to know where it goes. And it might lead to disappointment. It usually does. It usually leads to disappointment and resentment and avoidable pain that you could have avoided if you had a little bit more planning and a little bit more of intention, right? And that brings me to the opposite of that. And what happens when couples choose intentional preparation. They choose a map. They choose a guide to walk with them. What happens is they talk about the hard things before they become explosive. Why is this important? This is important because, you know, you could be of the mind of like, well, talk is just talk. Yeah, well, that's all we kind of have as human beings to communicate with each other. So we talk and we talk about these things. We know, okay, if we were to come across something as big as this one day, this is a pretty good indication of how I would react, and this is a pretty good indication of how you would react. And so we're going to find right now, when that isn't, our emotions aren't heightened, a path to get through. The obstacle to build the bridge over, right? Before our emotions are involved, before something becomes so big and explosive, so that when it comes up, you're like, wait a second, I remember this turn in the road and I know which way to go. Does that make sense? That's all really important. And another thing that happens when couples choose to intentionally find that map or find that guide is that they know how to be a team when life gets really messy. This is so underrated, but also like the goal. So many people say, I talk to married couples all the time, and they're talking about like teamwork. Like, we just want to make decisions together. We want to make sure we're on the same page. I want my spouse to be as invested as I am on the same team. And you can learn. That is a skill. It is a skill that you learn. And so you can learn how to be on the same team even when life is messy, not just when it's fun and you're on vacation. It's like, well, we can be on the same team. We're going to get pizza tonight. How fun, right? No, but you can be on the same team when things get hard, when things get messy. Another thing that couples do when they are intentionally preparing and finding that map is they actually create rhythms that make their relationship a source of peace and not stress. I cannot emphasize enough how important rhythms are in life in general. I have a friend who's brilliant, and she talks about rhythms all day, every day in her business. And I just am obsessed with that because it's so true. We were made with these rhythms in mind. And so when we have rhythms in our relationships, it creates a sense of peace and a sense of belonging and a sense of home, where being out of that rhythm and just doing things willy-nilly can lead to stress. And that's not always fun, right? So when you put the work in now, in that preparation, in that intentionality, you're building muscle memory for how to show up for each other later. And that's really important, isn't it? Because things will always come up, but knowing how to be on the same team is so incredibly important. Now, just to pull back the curtain a little bit, I know it can be a little bit in the weeds sometimes, but to pull it back a little bit, you get to choose the story that you're building. I don't know if you know that, right? You get to choose. It's not so much that you just have to let life happen to you. You get to choose which path you go down. You get to choose between sitting back and doing nothing, letting life happen to you, or being intentional and doing it, right? Now, the couples that I work with, they're not perfect. No one is, right? And that's the thing. But the couples that I do work with, they're open and they're honest and they're committing to starting strong, right? To put the work in. And let me tell you, those couples who are that committed and who are just honest with each other and showing up in their imperfection and trying to be better for each other, those are the ones that I see the most growth and the most transformation in. They are the ones who are just so all in. So I just want to encourage you that the things that you do right now, the way that you prepare, the map that you pick up, the guides that you go and seek out, the conversations that you have, the habits that you're building, the rhythms that you're implementing are shaping your future marriage every single day. That cannot be understated at all. So I just want to challenge you. You don't have to drift. Okay? I want to challenge you not to drift. In fact, I want to challenge you to decide. Choose to start your marriage strong. I want you to choose that for yourself. I cannot choose that for you as much as I would if I could. I can't choose that for you. So you have to choose that for yourself. Decide right now, is this something worth investing my time and resources and energy into so that my future can be so bright, full, and bursting with life? That decision is up to you. You're the only one who can make that decision for yourself. So if you're in a season of engagement, if you're engaged or you're planning to be soon, I just really want to encourage you to be thinking about all of these things. And if you are engaged and you're ready to step into that path, you're ready to take that hike, you're ready to go all in and pick up that right map and find that guide, I want to encourage you to check out my marriage preparation program called Dearly Beloved. It is made for you to build that foundation of a really strong home so that you can fill that marriage of yours with life and all of the good things that you're searching for. So I want to encourage you to check that out. You can check it out on my website at letsbesaintsco.com and see me over on social media. Whatever the case may be, I hope to connect with you. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'm cheering for you.